much. Hey. Hey guys, welcome. We are on the air and live at AJ's Bar, located at 651 South Main Street in historic downtown Grapevine, Texas. You are back. You had some cheese? Did you really?
I didn't realize we were starting.
You didn't bring me any cheese?
No, we're working out, you see.
What's Morgan got?
Got these.
That looks pretty tasty.
I got it last night.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Dang, guys, they're eating food, and I'm like starving. Anyway, we are across the street from the immortal winged 6'2" unicorn with the 9-foot wingspan AJ likes to call Bang Corn. That's right.
Bang corn.
Bangacorn.
Bangacorn. It's really imagined, but there you go. Yeah, there you go. It's always something new, different. Oh yeah. Okay, cool. All right. Guys, we are glad you're here and hope that you remember to tell somebody, a friend, acquaintance, a family member, a special person in your life, significant other, to join us, because we like large crowds. My featured guest today is Joseph Satriani, born July 15th, 1956. He is an American rock musician, composer, songwriter, artist, comic book creator, and guitar teacher. Early in his career, Satriani worked as a guitar instructor, with many of his former students achieving fame, such as Steve Vai, Kirk Hammett, and Alex Skolnick. He then went on to have a successful solo music career.
Really?
He's a
Amateur.
15-time Grammy Award nominee and has sold over 10 million albums, making him the best-selling instrumental rock guitarist of all time. You also may know him as the guitarist for the supergroup fronted by Sammy Hagar, known as Chickenfoot. And here he is now.
Hi, this is Joe Satriani, and you are watching Barside Jive.
Thanks, Joe. So what are we drinking today, AJ?
We're drinking a little Real Ale 8-track.
I've got no branding.
Yeah.
I got a vanilla glass. It's vanilla.
I'm drinking it out of a Carbox Hopadillo glass.
Where's this beer from?
Real Ale is somewhere in Texas.
Somewhere in Texas. Well, we know it's in Texas now.
It's out west somewhere, I think.
It's whoa.
Forgot. Where is Real Ale?
Huh?
Where's Real Ale
Blanco?
Plano?
from? Blanco.
Blanco.
Oh, Blanco.
Blanco.
Blanco. Down south. Yeah. Well, anyway, it's good. It's cold.
Mm.
And it hit the spot. Did you want some?
Oh, I got Coke, thank you.
Okay.
You
In
drinking
addition,
Coke?
Huh?
You drinking Coke?
I am.
And all that's going on?
Huh?
With all that's going on, you're drinking Coke.
What are you talking about?
Man, do you not read the news?
No.
Are you not in the current reviews?
I just wait for the breaking news to come up on Barside
well, it's
Jive.
fixing to come on. In addition to my guest segment, which comes later in the show, I've got unconventional news, non-traditional weather, unheard of sports, and traffic that's sure to make you go, what did I just see? Delivered with that edgy and rawness you crave, but you'll not get from lame streams. So hang on, you don't want to miss an inch. Oh, speaking of inches, Be sure to stick around till the very end of the show because we always stick something at the butt end of the show. Could be a cool video, a special photo, a gross meme, or even a contest. Never know. Gotta watch.
Maybe just an inch.
That's right. By the way, I've got some total useless information. You want to hear it?
Sure.
Okay. Did you know that playing electronic dance music, EDM, could be just what you need to scare away those pesky mosquitoes in the summer, which is upon us soon? According to one 2019 study published in the journal Acta Topica, the Skrillex song Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites combines very high and very low frequencies, as well as excessive loudness and constantly escalating pitch that discourages the yellow fever mosquito from biting victims and mating. I wonder if the yellow fever mosquito is the same as the little black ones that hang out at my place. No. Anyway, let's take a listen to that song and see what we think. Wow.
Made me want to leave.
Yeah. Whew. I don't know if I could listen to that while I'm out having my beer and my cigar and fighting the mosquitoes off. Anyway, that's it, guys. You want to repel some mosquitoes at your place? Skrillex mosquito killer. Skrillex. Typo. Skrillex mosquito killer. Hey, if you'd like to know more about repelling mosquitoes, just give AJ a call on the bar phone, 469-844-1631, because he knows everything. Hey, you want to show me your fly killer?
I don't have it. It broke.
It did it really? Did it really?
I got to get a new one.
You used to have two.
They both broke.
Really?
We wear them out here. I don't like flies.
Well, did you get them on Amazon?
I've got them at Amazon and they had them at Sam's last year or something.
Oh, really? Okay, I'll get some new ones.
Last year they had a 2-pack.
2-pack.
Yeah.
2-pack. Well, be sure to check out my YouTube channel. Just search Barside Jive Live at youtube.com and click subscribe. And then click that little bitty bell.
Yeah, that's not happening. Oh, wow, it happened.
It did.
Oh, we still need to fix that audio file. It's like 5 seconds long.
Okay. And then once you click that little bitty bell, you'll receive notifications when I post my premium content, which is free to all of you because you guys are premium friends. All right. And now a word from AJ's favorite aftershave, Old Spice.
Oh, yeah. That's good stuff, man.
Danger excites me, but I can't fully enjoy it when I smell like fear and body odor. So I prepare myself with a manly scent of Old Spice Danger Zone. Because even if something bad does happen to a Danger Zone man, it won't smell like something bad happened. Because the secret to smelling good is... And when you smell like Old Spice Danger Zone, trust me, you'll smell like you have nothing to worry about.
You smell like you look amazing.
Amazing and no.
Introducing Old Spice Danger Zone with all-day odor protection.
Yeah.
Old Spice, man. That's good stuff, man.
What are you wearing?
Old Spice.
Living in the danger zone. Okay, it's time again for that segment with all those big-ass raving reviews. Breaking news, baby. Hey guys, glad you still with us. Our top news story straight in from the Barside Jive news desk. Health and Human Services nominee says kids should decide for themselves whether to stick a knife in a toaster. Straight out of Washington, D.C., during an intense round of questioning from senators on Capitol Hill, Assistant Health and Human Services Secretary nominee Rachel Levine refused to answer Rand Paul's intense line of questioning as to whether young children should be allowed to stick a knife in a toaster while it's plugged in. Listen, it's a simple question, said Senator Paul. Should we or should we not allow 3-year-old kids to electrocute themselves by sticking a giant knife into a plugged-in toaster? Well, that is a very interesting question about a complicated issue, answered Levine. Some of the other questions included whether kids should be allowed to eat Tide Pods, inject heroin, drink bleach, go over Niagara Falls in a barrel, play with loaded guns, swim in the chocolate river from Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, climb into a stranger's car. I can hear myself now, but it echoes.
Oh, okay.
To all the questions, Levine gave the same answer, claiming these issues are complicated and should be left up to the child to decide. According to sources, if confirmed, Levine will work to make Tide Pods and Niagara Falls barrels immediately available over the counter to 3-year-olds. And
better.
yeah.
Would you take any health advice from that?
No.
Would you?
AJ's
That's
our
just
new
the
audio visual. He's our new visual guy.
The epitome
Tony does
of
audio.
health.
AJ does visuals.
The epitome of health, I tell you.
Well, hey, I got more, so hang loose. Biden can't remember who he put in charge of Alzheimer's research. Straight out of Washington, D.C. Got a lot going on in Washington, D.C., guys.
You know, the guy.
Yeah, the guy. The Biden administration has committed to, who writes this shit? To defeating Alzheimer's disease through cutting-edge research. Unfortunately, the White House staff was thrown into turmoil today after Biden completely, well, actually, it was probably yesterday, after Biden completely forgot who he placed in charge of it. Listen, folks, Biden reportedly said during a morning meeting, the fight against Alzheimer's is important. There's no reason we can't defeat this disease by 2003. I know President Nixon is going to fight me on this, but I'll stop at nothing to defeat polio before France invades. According to sources, Biden then scanned the crowd, trying to remember who he had placed in charge of the effort. Jen, hi there, sweetheart. How's the research coming? I'm just kidding, said Biden, desperately searching the faces of the staff. Bruce, Tammy, Nina, oops, ha ha, that was a joke, folks. Well, my stories are on the TV, let's take a break. Well, the staff desperately looked around for any kind of document that would indicate who Biden had placed in charge of Alzheimer's research. Sadly, their search came up empty, since Biden had forgotten to appoint anyone to begin with. And,
You know, in his defense, though, he doesn't even know what room he's in.
true,
Did you write that, DC?
true.
Oh, okay.
Yes, of course I wrote it.
I mean, that's. Hey, is the echo gone?
No,
Is the
it's,
echo gone?
I still got echo. It's better than silence.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Surface of Mars actually, this is our next news. Surface of Mars actually quite boring,
You wouldn't think
NASA says.
You wouldn't think that at all.
Yeah, well, let's
I don't
find
think
out.
NASA, I mean, Mars would be a cool place to go hang out.
Well, let's find out, because we don't really know yet, do we?
Let's not rush to judgment.
That's right.
Just some pictures, you know.
It's no rush.
Pictures
We do need
pictures. Don't tell the whole story.
But the pictures help. Rod. The U.S. Space Agency is reportedly disappointed with the first images it received from the Perseverance rover this week. It's just a bunch of rocks and dirt, said spokesperson Leon Pike. It's not even particularly red, more sort of a brownish orange. The mood at the agency has apparently been sour as many welcoming party with some Alf-like beings, or at the very least some of the aliens from like Space Jam, said Pike. If I'd known we were just looking for the ancient remains of some microscopic organisms, I wouldn't have turned down that job with the Space Force. Well, there you have it. Another day of Breaking news. How about some rock history, AJ?
All right.
March 1, babe. Born this week in rock history, Mr. Roger Daltrey of The Who. That's right, guys. Back in 1944, on this day, Roger Daltrey was born. Also, on this day in rock history, back in 1966, Gene Clark of the Byrds announced he was leaving the group due to his chronic fear of flying. He had
It's weird that a
also...
bird would be afraid of flying.
Yeah, true. True if you think about it, yeah. He had also some problems getting along with Roger McGann. On this day in 1969, Jim Morrison is arrested after a Doors concert in Miami. He got in a little trouble. He was found guilty of indecent exposure and profanity in March of 1970.
What do you do?
His sentence, well, he indecently exposed himself on stage. His sentence of 8 months of hard labor and a $500 fine was on appeal when he died in Paris back in 1971. And on this day in 2016, 76-year-old Ginger Baker, that's right, Ginger Baker of the Cream, posted on his blog that he had canceled all of his scheduled shows for the year and was going into immediate retirement. The former drummer for Cream and Blind Faith revealed that his doctor had just diagnosed him with a serious heart problem, causing him to announce no more gigs for this old drummer.
I think he played with Lenny Kravitz too.
Did he?
Pretty sure.
I'll just take your word for it.
Mm-hmm. We'll run with it. And on this day in 2018, Elton John walked off stage during a gig at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas after some fans who gathered around his piano started touching him.
You know, when we touched him, doesn't sound like the guy I know.
After security ushered concert goers back to their seats, Sir Elton returned grumbling, "No more coming on stage on Saturday night, you fucked it up." No, that's what he said. I saw the video. It's a direct report. And that's it for my daily dose of rock history, which means it's time for... COVID update, AJ. COVID update. We got shocking video from just 1 week ago shows a majority of Americans wearing only one mask. In a truly disturbing video that was distributed on social networks this week, crowds of people across the U.S. are seen wearing only one mask, instead of the two masks that the CDC has recommended. "I'm sick to my stomach watching the carnage unfold in this horrific footage," said New York Times editor Sally Chabin regarding the video that was shared millions of times this week and later removed by YouTube. "Thousands of grandma killers were walking among us undetected only one short week ago. I've never seen such callous disregard for our life. I'm literally shaking right now." Shockingly, experts revealed that people have been wearing only one mask for the last year, likely resulting in billions of deaths that could have been prevented if people had cared enough to wear 2 or 3 masks at once. Democrats have responded to the soul-crushing footage, calling for a third impeachment of Donald Trump, since he famously incited people to wear only one mask instead of following the science that clearly calls for 2. Biden, however, has assured the public that the science on double masking will always be followed by his administration. He will also be awarding the Presidential Medal of Freedom to local District of Columbia 3M mask salesman Don Chambers for coming up with the double mask idea. And there you have it.
You know, that guy, ain't he the one that said that he had a plan for day one to get us out of all this?
Fauci?
Biden.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
It's day one when I get in office, I got a plan.
He's got a plan.
Yeah, send out the shots that Trump developed, or Trump's administration developed. He didn't do it.
Oh. Oh, it's time for sports, AJ.
Wish my phone would ring. I wouldn't feel so fucking left out with you guys.
Today. Oh, he's okay, Jay. He's okay. He'll be all right. Today we are at Barside Jive, and we are bringing you ostrich racing. It's a sport, guys, where it's a serious sport where people race each other on the backs of these huge birds. This contest is said to be harder to manage than even horses. Ostriches are large, flightless birds that are mostly native to Africa. These big birds can sustain 43 miles per hour for long periods of time. And for a closer look at ostrich racing, let's go to some video footage we have of races right here in America. Squirrely to ride,
Was it game jousting?
but
Jousting?
horses.
It's dancing.
Kicking his ass. Stand
Part of dash, yeah. I love music.
High class. Man, he's hauling ass.
And grinning all the way to the finish line. Well, thought so.
They make a fine
Wow.
pair of boots, though.
Oh.
Yeah, they do, don't they? Yeah. And just when you thought you'd seen everything, guys, we bring you the best of sports in America and beyond. And now a word from our friends over at Fog Hat Cellars.
Roll that.
Hi DC, thanks for having us on your show. And for you folks, I'm Roger of the band Foghat, and these are our wines. Foghat Cellars. This is a Chardonnay from Monterey County, absolutely delicious, 2014. We have 2013 Pinot Noir from Monterey County. It's absolutely fabulous, a wonderful drinking wine. If you like Pinots, you'll love it. This is a Cabernet Sauvignon from Paso Robles. All our wines come from Central Coast of California. Steve Rasmussen is our winemaker. Though in fact, myself and Linda actually get involved in the making of some of our wines. Drink, enjoy, go to foghatcellars.com to find out how to get them. Thanks, bye.
Hey, you want to do this next part? I'm bored.
And if you use a coupon and put in Barside Jive on the checkout screen, you'll get 20% off the purchase. You can even get your bottle autographed by the drummer Roger Earl at the only remaining member of the classic lineup, Foghat.
You don't tell them excuse me, they understand. You don't tell them excuse me, they understand. We're forgiven. Hey,
I've been drinking. It's time for some weather.
hey, why don't we do some shots?
Are you old enough to do a shot?
I am. Let's do shots. We'll during the weather intro. Oh, guys, here's the weather. Well, while AJ pours up those shots, I'll continue from your Barside Jive Global Weather Center, where we try to stick to the current weather since forecasts are usually pretty wrong,
How moist you think?
and including ours. Well, ours is not as wrong as the TVs, but because we're pretty like spot on most of the time. But it is. Thank you, AJ. It is currently 50 degrees. I think today's high is like around 53. You know, I started out this morning just my shirt, but I put on this little sweater because I was like, it was a little chilly this morning.
It was extremely moist
It
this
was,
morning too.
it was chilly. And yeah, maybe a little moist. Air quality, you do the air quality.
Let's see. Air quality is eat me. Who types this?
I don't know. Air quality is,
It's north to northeast at 9
no,
miles
is it
an hour.
is it
So,
moderate? Is it
It's
good?
moist.
It's good.
It's good.
Yeah, so the wind is out of the,
Northeast, 9 miles an hour. Humidity is 59%. So that's very moist.
and the sun's going to set at,
Sun's gonna set at 6 p.m. Probably 5:55.
no,
We got
it's after
13 more
6 now.
fucking days of that bullshit.
It's after 6 now. It's always after 6 now. We're done with 5.
Not in my world.
And what moon phase are we in, HA? Because I know you
The-
keep
the-
up with that.
the- was it second humors?
Who knows what the hell that means
I
anyway?
don't know.
Okay, well, let's go to Tyrone Smith on location in Muleshoe, Texas for a closer look at weather conditions there. Hey, Tyrone, how is the weather in Muleshoe today? Ooh, epic fall there, huh, AJ?
Yeah, I busted my ass too.
Dude, did you really?
Yeah, over in Sam's, I was walking out. seen the patch of ice, knew the patch of ice was there, so I can step past it. Step past it, my heel caught one part, man.
Oh, no.
Put me right on my butt cheek.
Did it?
And the only thing I could do was just crack up laughing, because hell, I watched the videos of people falling down all day.
Yeah, and
So
laugh.
I just started laughing.
Oh, man. Hey, you guys need to come to AJ's, and not only can you drink out of an AJ's shot glass, but you can have a shot of, what are we drinking?
You got tequila, I got bourbon.
Tequila and bourbon. Okay, here we go. Cheers. Good stuff.
When it hits your lips, it's so good.
You know, that tequila reminds me of a story.
Okay.
Listen, there was this little old lady. She was walking down the street dragging 2 large plastic garbage bags behind her. One of the bags was totally ripped open, and $20 bills were like falling out on the sidewalk. Noticing this policeman stopped her and said, "Hey, ma'am, there's $20 bills like falling out of that bag." She's like, "Really? Damn." I fell a while back while I was carrying those bags, and one of them must have ripped open. "Thanks for telling me, officer." "Well, now, not so fast," said the cop. "Where did you get all that money? I mean, you didn't steal it, did you?" "Oh, no," said the old lady. "You see, my back garden is right next to a golf course, and a lot of golfers come and pee through a knothole in my fence, right into my flower garden. It used to really tick me off, kills the flowers, you know. Then I thought, why not make the best of it? So now I stand behind the fence by the knot hole, real quiet with my hedge clippers. Every time some guy sticks his thing through my fence, I surprise him, grab hold of it, and say, "Okay, mate, give me 20 bucks or off it comes." "Well, that seems only fair," said the cop. "Okay, good luck. Oh, by the way, what's in the other bag?" "Not everybody pays," she said. Okay, well, that was your global weather from your Barside Jive meteorologist, kinda, here at Barside Jive. Our weather was brought to you by our friends over at Jeep.
Come on. We gotta get out of here. Must go faster. How do you like it now, my friend?
Before the Super Bowl.
Would you like to take it for a test
And then they cut him when he got arrested.
I just did.
When did he get arrested? Seriously?
T-Rex.
What y'all think about that commercial? Yeah. Let's take a quick look at traffic. Well, how's it look out there on Main Street today, AJ?
It's clear.
Everything's moving.
No jam-ups.
No jam-ups. It's not so overcast anymore. It looks like it's getting a little sunny. We may need to adjust our weather report. I can tell you there is nothing as interesting here as a one-car accident involving a beehive in the bluegrass state of Kentucky. So let's go to witness Gary Lee Anderson at the scene of the accident in Laurel County, Kentucky. Gary Lee, can you tell us what happened out there?
Well, I just had got done feeding my chickens, watering them and stuff, and I walked back to my house there to get my phone so I could play a video game on it. And all of a sudden, I heard a big boom. I looked back out my door, and the electric pole fell, and the lines were falling, and the geocache was sideways into the fence. And there's a guy come out screaming and squalling, and running around about like a chicken with his head cut off. But I told him he need to get out of that water. But say I didn't know he was getting eaten up by bees. I thought he was just high. That girl in that little bikini, she had a little red dot thought over her.
He thought it was just no, it's bees. Oh gosh. Well, you guys want to hear a bee joke? Well, I'm glad you do. So, 3 bees fly into this bar, and the bartender says, "Wow, bees, what can I get you?" And all 3 of the bees order a half a drop of tequila. The bartender finds an eyedropper and dispenses their order right there on the bar. Full of curiosity, the bartender asks, "So do bees drink a lot?" The first bee replied, "No, just enough to get a buzz on." Did you like how that related to bar and bees?
I have a question.
What?
Why is it 3 bees?
Well, it could have been 2 or 4, doesn't matter.
Could have been just 1.
Could have been, but that's just the story.
Gotcha.
Don't try to reinvent it.
All right.
Just go with it.
You're right. Did
Just
they have
go-
names?
Just go with it. That'll bring us up to our featured guest segment, which is sponsored by Hip and Hippie. Hippin' Hippie is a planet-loving company known for its high-quality, earth-friendly, 100% recyclable candle line and natural body care products. It's what keeps us looking so good, isn't it? There you go. It's no wonder eco-supporting people love Hippin' Hippie. HippinHippie.com. As I mentioned earlier today, my featured guest is guitarist Joe Satriani. Joe is the world's most commercially successful solo guitar performer with 6 gold and platinum discs to his credit, including 1 more gold award for the debut album by his supergroup band, Chickenfoot, and sales in excess of 10 million copies. Joe has called Steve Vai, as well as Metallica's Kirk Hammett, and Testament's Alex Skolnick guitar students. Mick Jagger asked Satriani to be his lead guitarist on his first ever solo tour back in 1988. And in 1993, he was asked to join Deep Purple as a temporary replacement for Ritchie Blackmore during a Japanese tour. And all that plus the fact the guy is just cooler than shit and he's just a nice guy. And that is just scratching the surface of what Joe is and has accomplished. So let's talk more about Joe. I'll be right back with Joe Satriani after this quick break. So how are you?
I'm doing great today. Just busy working, and it's always great to have lots of work driving you crazy, especially when you're stuck at home. I'm so used to traveling the world all the time, being on a tour bus,
Yeah.
living in a hotel room, and so yeah, having I'm working on 2 albums and the Crystal Planet series, and it's great to take my mind off the tragedy that the world is facing right now.
Yeah. I have looked at your bios and have done some reading about you, learned more than obviously I knew, a week ago. And it's like, man, your middle name is work. I mean, you are like, and dude, you are so innovative. You are just an amazing creative guy. I mean, it's just amazing what you've done with your life. I mean, when you get really old, you're going to look back and go, wow.
I thought I was really old.
No, dude, you're just a few years older than I am, but we're close in age. I'm a little bit jealous now because I'm like, this guy has really just run. I mean, I thought I'd done a lot, but you've just run circles around me. Seriously.
I'll apologize ahead of time. I hate staring into the little green light. And I'm one of those people that I'm really shy until I walk on stage. And if I have a guitar on, then I become this other person that I enjoy,
Yeah.
The person I always wanted to be. And I've been unable to turn it on for Instagram or Facebook Live or any of that stuff. To me, there's nothing like being in front of human beings, being in the same room. I don't care if you're playing in front of 10 people or 100,000 people. I just like playing with people. I don't like staring at the computer. So I'm working hard.
You're doing great, man. You're doing great. Gosh, just something else for you to accomplish, man. Well, let me just tell you, I'm honored to have you on. I hate to sound like such a fan, but you're huge in my world, and I just appreciate the fact that you accepted the offer and you're giving me some of your time. I just poured me a beer since I am in a bar, so if you don't mind, I'm going to drink during this time we have together.
You're lucky. I've got nothing but water.
All you guys, it's like, the world of rock and roll and all the alcohol that, and now it's like, of course, everybody's a little older now, but they're all drinking water. But, a lot of these guys that used to really, put it away, they're now all drinking water, I guess, because they want to stick around a little bit longer, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I never really drank that much. I love it. The problem is that my sense of timing starts to go out the window. I noticed that when I was in high school, that the best gigs that I had in my mind were the ones where I was drinking, and but they were in fact the worst gigs for the people I was playing with. And I thought, so something happens when I'm drinking where I just enjoy being sloppy, and so that doesn't work. So when we're on tour for all these decades, everyone stays straight, and then at night on the bus we all enjoy our whiskey, vodka, whatever, and so that way we can play better for the fans, so
yeah, right. Well, that's professional right there.
Yeah, I guess so.
What is your drink of choice, Joe?
I kind of do this thing. I realized, I was just thinking about that the other day, that I'll drink some dark beer for a couple of weeks, and then I get sick of it, and then I move on to red wine. I like Cabernets, and then I get sick of it, and then a few months later it's just bourbon, and I'll do bourbon for a couple of months, and then I get sick of it, and then I'll work, I'll go for some scotch or something like that. And those 3 seem to be my favorite right there. And I've never really gotten into gin or vodka very much. Tequila, only if I've got to stay awake but be lubricated. You know what I mean? That's a weird thing, tequila.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, like I've done some things out at the Bohemian Grove, which is not far from San Francisco where I live, and very often you're just walking around these giant redwoods and you're playing music till 5 in the morning, and it's cold out there, giant redwoods. It's Northern California, and so sipping straight tequila keeps you awake, but puts a smile on your face, and you can play with all these different cats, and it's really great and it's fun. But that's the only time I really drink tequila, and not much for mixed drinks or anything like that. But yeah, last night it was what did I have? I had some Japanese whiskey. It was very nice, very smooth. That'll take the edge off a long day,
Yeah, absolutely. My daughter went to college up in Reading.
Oh, really?
And my favorite trip, when she graduated, I flew into LA and rented a convertible, and she met me in LA, and we drove the PCH all the way up, and then continued on through Oregon. Oh my God. And that was, man, it was beautiful. And then, you get into Washington State and you go inland, went to Seattle, hung out in Seattle for a few days, and then flew back to Dallas from Seattle. But we had a blast. And, I'd never driven through Oregon. Wow. How beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I tell you that, this is off topic, but the United States and Canada are just so beautiful. And, I see it all the time. I take it for granted. I mean, I've been to almost every state. I've been to every territory in Canada, and we spend a lot of time driving, and we do 6-7 shows a week. So we work hard and we see a lot of people, and it's, I wish everyone could see how beautiful the country is.
Yeah.
And how precious it is. You don't want to lose it. It's horrible to see it start to fall apart and fray, because once you've seen it and you've seen all the cool people all over, you want to work to keep it together. So yeah, it's good that you got to do that, and you got to see how grand. I mean, God, that PCH is amazing, right?
Oh man. Oh, and I've eaten some of the best street tacos on that stretch.
Yeah.
I can totally see your name on a wine bottle.
That's right.
You should develop your own. Roger Earl from Foghat, they've got their own wine.
Is that right? Yeah.
Foghat Cellars. You should.
We've thought about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because what a name! Yeah. I mean, it would look good with the guitar logo on a bottle of wine. I mean,
Don't know if I want to get into that. I tell you, I was just talking to Sammy Hagar yesterday. We had a long talk, and that guy works really hard. Sam's a really hard worker, and man, he's put in so much work for his beverage companies.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand it. Like it's like 24/7.
Really?
And he's really good with people. He just livens up a room wherever he goes. He has a really wonderful gift, but I've seen him work his brands, and that's a lot of work. I spend more time practicing.
Yeah.
And he spends more time working the crowd, because that's his gift.
Right.
He doesn't need to practice. He just sings like an angel whenever he wants. But it's a lot of work. It's not just like you sign on a dotted line and say, yeah, you put my face on the label.
Yeah.
And go sell some wine. You've got to go around and drink with people.
Yeah. That sounds tough.
It is. I think it's tough if you're a lightweight like me.
Oh man, you're no lightweight. Well, let's talk about you. Okay, so I haven't even gotten started yet. Okay, let me get started real quick. Hey guys, welcome back to Barside Jive. It is time for me to introduce my guest today, Joe Satriani, American rock musician, songwriter, composer, guitar instructor, and the world's most commercially successful solo guitar performer, with 6 gold and platinum discs to his credit and sales in excess of 10 million copies. He is also a 15-time Grammy Award nominee. And then some of you may know him best as the guitarist alongside former Van Halen member Sammy Hagar on vocals, Michael Anthony on bass, and Red Hot Chili Peppers Chad Smith on drums in a band called Chickenfoot, which earned Joe a gold award for the band's debut album. Well, Joe, it is awesome having you here today.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's great to be here. Here and there at the same time.
Where are you exactly?
I'm at home in San Francisco, as you can see in my little, space shuttle of a control room. Lots of guitars, amps.
Right. All the tools.
Yep.
Well, Joe, besides being a guitar legend, I should have included comic book creator, right?
Ah, great. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah. Well, I've got to know how that started. And I believe the story I heard started like in July of '94, and you were on tour with Deep Purple.
Yeah, boy, the journey is always so interesting when you try to trace the beginning of an idea, and so I had to remind myself a while ago when we were writing up that press release that I was playing in, and there's some funny connections. So I'm playing in Gijón, Spain, right, sort of northwest Spain, and we're playing in like a coliseum where they have bullfights, and the place smelled like bulls.
Yeah.
And so the backstage area, of course, is where matadors and animals are, and a beautiful place. And so I'm backstage warming up, and I'm wandering around, and I wind up inside of this really strange, very tall, circular pen, dirt floors, smells heavily of the animals. And I realized this is where they keep the bulls before they let them out. The bulls are in there. They're all, trapped, and they can't get at anything. And that's when I started writing that open riff that would become Crystal Planet. We go out, do a cool gig. Just a funny little aside, years later, the engineer who helps design that amp back there, my signature Marshall head, a guy named Santiago Alvarez, little did I know as a young kid, he's in the audience. He's a young guitar player. He winds up being the main engineer for Marshall. And we meet later on, and he designs that for me. Anyway, that's the side of the story.
Very cool.
So yeah, we move on. I work on that song more and more, and it comes out on the album Crystal Planet. And from there, my idea about science fiction keeps sort of like it snowballs into this obsession, about trying to create other worlds where we can imagine innovations, which is really what the heart and soul of really good science fiction is. The good science fiction writers, they imagine new worlds, they create new inventions like cell phones and all kinds of things that have people, scratching their heads, but eventually they become a reality. It's really quite a thing. Fast forward again, and I put out a record called Unstoppable Momentum, and at the time, I've had this long friendship with another guitar player named Ned Evett, who's singer-songwriter, and he plays a fretless slide guitar. And so he, just by accident, is getting a job doing some animation for some company. And he says, hey, your new album, if you're going out on tour and you need a video for your background screen, he said, I just got this brand new gear and I'm doing all this stuff for this company. Let me do a video for you. And he says, I'll use the art book you just put out. So I just put out a book of computerized drawings. And so he picked the song, it was called Lies and Truths. And he creates this video. And it was really just a fun video, science fiction, outer space, weird planet, guys looking for energy sources, battling it out and stuff like that. And when I get this thing, I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, this should be more than that. This should be a story. I felt like there was a heart and soul to it. It wasn't just a promotional piece.
Right.
So we start having these long conversations while I'm out on tour about what can we do with this thing. And long story short, we start Satch Tunes, a company, that not only does animation, but turns out these stories. We got about 25 properties right now that we're working on. But our main one, our flagship, has always been Crystal Planet. So 7 years in the making. We've had some other people come and go and help us with things like Brendan Small from Metalocalypse. And we finally, through another odd association with Lexi Leon from Incendium, and with heavy metal, where we got associated through Brendan, we're finally actually getting the graphic novel released this fall, and we've been putting out these comic books as a sort of a promotion to let people into the idea of the world and the characters and everything.
Right.
And wow, I mean, the talent that Lexi has brought in has been amazing. He created the story Eternal Descent, and I wound up being a character. This goes back about 10 years in that series. And he develops like novels, comic books, video games, the whole thing, even action figures. So I got my own action figure now.
Dude, that's huge.
Yeah, it's so funny, you know. But
how cool is that?
Yeah, we really hope that the story will reach into people's hearts and they realize that it's a real epic story. It touches on everything. It's like a Star Wars epic, you know. There's a lot of heart and soul to it. There's a lot of love. There's a lot of crazy action. There's a lot of crazy science fiction in it. And yeah, it's one of those things you just got to work the idea nonstop. You can't let go of it because it takes a lot of perseverance. You know, in this particular field of art, it takes a lot of perseverance, you know, to get people on board. So we're real happy that it's coming out. And Ned and I, it's funny, if you could see, I've got this wall over here, right? And I've got 2 albums. Two albums.
Looks great, Joe.
Of stuff on there. And
why don't you show me one?
One of them is, see, it's like, you can see all that. And one of them is an album I'm working on with Ned that is so different from all those songs that are to the left of it up there that I'm working with my live band, which is an instrumental one. And oddly enough, they're kind of like 2 sides of a musical expression of this science fiction. Although I think if you heard the material I'm working on with Ned, you think it was a collection of really heartwarming songs, you know, in the Americana vein. But this is kind of like what we were talking about when we first started this conversation about how, you know, being homebound for so long has allowed me to concentrate even more than I ever thought I could on creative output, you know. And the other thing that's, you know, through the doors over there, which I can't actually drag the camera out over there, that's the art room. And I just finished doing 13 guitars for the Wentworth Gallery. And, you know, where I hand paint them all, and really crazy alien sci-fi themes on those. And those will be, I'm hoping they'll get all sealed up and screwed together, ready to be put in cases in about a month. And so, yeah, it's like when I'm in this part of the house, it's nothing but music and art and stories. And it's been a great refuge, you know, during these troubling times.
You know, it's so cool what you're doing because, you know, I'm used to talking to a lot of musicians, and, you know, you have this really cool thread that runs, you know, from music into your artwork, and it all kind of pulls everything together. And it's just really cool how you've just branched out into all these creative, you know, areas.
It's fun. Yeah, it's been great. I mean, you know, that the first love has always been just making music. But I guess I grew up, you know, youngest of 5 kids, and my older sisters were professional artists and they went to school for it. And so there was always a lot of that around, drawing and painting. a lot of music. Like I was the only one stupid enough to be a professional musician, but everybody in the house played, so I was the last one to learn, and the cool thing was I wound up with everyone's records as they got old enough and they left the house. They didn't bring their 45s and LPs, and I just became the recipient of everything that they listened to. So although I didn't really grow up until 1970 hit, that's when I started really growing up, and I didn't start playing guitar until 1970. I was really weaned on all the music that my older siblings and my parents listened to. So I was listening to jazz and classical and British invasion, early rock and roll, Motown, funk, and the beginnings of rock music. And I loved all of it. And so my style is fragmented, or it's a mosaic of my family's tastes and what they grew up listening to. And that's been a great thing to sort of echo, because, like sometimes you think, it would be great if you just liked one thing, but the one thing that I learned when I was playing with Chickenfoot is that when we got together, what worked was that even though there was a little bit of an age spread between us all, we all had these shared influences that we loved. And from that very first time we played in Vegas on Super Bowl weekend, way back when, was it 2008 or something like that? We got the idea that the band would not play Joe music, Van Halen music, Chili Pepper music. No, we were going to simply be unashamed at showing our influences and say, we're just going to play the music that we loved growing up to. The music that we listened to when we were kids and we decided to make noise on our own. That's the music that we're going to echo. And so that's what we did. And that freed everybody up to simply just, like, if you wanted to play, any Beatles, Zeppelin, Stones, whatever it is that you wanted to echo, you could go ahead and do it, because, when I was looking at Chad and Mike and Sam, they would throw it right back at me because I knew they loved the same stuff. So, having those influences has been just a fantastic source of creativity, really. When I think about it, it's pretty remarkable when you can sit in a room with guys like that and you can do a Bowie song and a T-Rex song and a James Brown song, and and everybody knows them, and their fans may not realize that, but they're deep. Sammy, Mike, and Chad, they're deep. They have great influences, and that's what made that band so much fun, is that we were always just having fun quoting our heroes.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's got to be a blast. So you were raised in Westbury, New York?
That's right. Yeah. Right in the middle of Long Island. It's a couple of different counties, and Nassau County's kind of in the middle. And I was in this little strip of a town called Westbury that belonged to the Carr Place School District. And so I went to a Catholic school for about 5 years, got in trouble every year.
You?
Me. I can't believe
that.
I didn't get on well with nuns and priests. I just couldn't do it. So, good Italian boy that I am, I just got my parents, embarrassed them. So I eventually convinced them they had to send me to public school, where I could be among my people. And so I went to the Carr Place public school, and that was great. I just flourished. There was a guy there, a young guy, just out of Juilliard. Poor guy. I mean, he was a brilliant pianist, brilliant musician, and he got stuck in this teeny little 2-square-mile town in the middle of Long Island, teaching music to a bunch of, my hair was like down to here, and all I cared about was Black Sabbath, and I'm in his music theory class. And, but he reached me. He reached my brain somehow, and he taught me, and my buddy Steve I was a couple of years younger than me. There were a few of us that wound up taking advanced music theory classes from him during our high school period.
Oh, wow.
And that became the greatest education I ever got, was right there in that little public high school.
Wow.
I also got in trouble constantly, and they did allow me when I was a senior to double up so I could graduate early. So I graduated a half year early because they just didn't want me around.
Yeah.
So in January I got my diploma, and I was, I think I bummed around the island for a while, then joined a disco band. I went on tour for about a year or so before I decided to move out west and take my chances out here.
Well, Joe, I just can't believe you're that kind of kid. So, I mean, I was, but I just can't believe you were. So what kind of trouble did you get into?
Oh, lightweight stuff, just lightweight stuff. But
like, what did you do?
Well, okay, so here's a funny one. The funny stuff, because the really bad stuff, of course, I'm never going to say on the internet. Are you kidding?
You're going to save that for your book?
Millions of people are watching your show. I'm not going to incriminate myself. But something came to my mind recently because it was Alice Cooper's birthday, right?
Right.
Happy birthday, Alice. So anyway, so I was a big Alice Cooper fan. I had the poster of him hanging himself in my bedroom, which worried my parents quite a bit. But so one of my classmates wanted to run for president, and there was no way that we were, any of us would ever get elected president. But we decided that we were going to put on a show, and it was one of those things where the whole school goes to the auditorium, and the kids get up there and they go, vote for me because I got this. So we decided to put on a presentation. And at the time, I kind of looked like Alice out of all of the friends. I had the long hair and I was skinny, and my friend had a big boa snake, a boa constrictor. So we got my girlfriend to make me up like Alice Cooper. And I borrowed the snake, and I'm on stage behind the curtain, and my buddy goes out who's running for the school president, and he says a bunch of things that get us in a lot of trouble that I won't repeat as part of his speech. And then he says, and my friend Alice Cooper is here to entertain you, and we start playing whatever it was, Elected or I'm 18 or something like that. And people freak out because that week he was playing the Uniondale Coliseum, which was like 2 miles across town. So there was a second there where they thought, is that really Alice Cooper? Because we know he's playing at the Coliseum.
Wow.
And I got the snake, and of course I go into the audience and I terrorize the rest of the kids. We were seniors, so we were the big kids in school. So long story short, my buddy doesn't get elected. As a matter of fact, we all get kicked out of school for a week. In deep trouble. The whole kids terrorized. Parents are really mad at my parents. It's just the whole thing. But
that's hilarious.
One of the high points to my life, though. That was one of those things where, again, I'm really like a shy person, but you give me a costume, give me a snake.
You're out there.
I'm out there.
Joe, that's hilarious. You tell that story very often?
I told it to Alice once, many years ago. I was on his radio station when we were out, when he was doing it from the terrestrial spot, and he got a kick out of it. But poor Alice, he's the recipient of so much love like that. There were so many Alice Cooper fans who've done something similar like that.
Yeah. And you played with him some, right?
I did. I spent a few days down in LA helping him record an album.
Yeah.
I just went down there to do a solo, and then they got me on 5 songs. That was really an honor. To get to play with him.
You mentioned you had 5 siblings.
I'm one of 5. I'm the youngest of 5. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Large family.
I guess so. Yeah. By today's standards. Yeah.
Yeah. Are they all doing good?
Yes. Everyone, thankfully, is doing well. Thank you.
Yeah. Mom and dad?
No longer with us.
Okay.
2 really amazing people.
Yeah, I bet.
Really.
They had to be.
They had to put up with us.
No. I mean, they had to be. I mean, I'm sure it was pretty lively around your house from what I'm hearing you say. I mean, all that stuff is in the genes, right? All that creativity. You got it from somebody.
I was just thinking they let us rehearse in the basement when I had my first couple of high school bands, you know.
Yeah.
And we just grew up in the suburbs, so we had a basement, you know, and
Yeah.
that was where the kids would hang out. And when the cops came, because the neighbors were really straight laced, my parents would talk the cops down and say, you gotta let the kids be kids, let them play. They're just making some music, you know.
Right.
And so I had great support, and I credit my older siblings who had worn my parents down. Let's face it, when you're the youngest, you know, it's like your older siblings, they're the ones that fight the biggest battles with your parents. And then if you're number 5, your parents are tired, you know.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, you want to be a drummer? Fine. You want to be a guitarist? Fine. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And they're older.
So they're older and they're tired, and they kind of like, yeah, whatever. So
yeah,
I was lucky in that, but they, you know, they were young children of immigrants that grew up in New York City. And so, and they went through the Depression, the wars, and then the social upheaval of the 60s. What an incredible generation of people. You know,
oh yeah,
really amazing.
Yeah. Well, I've heard Jimi Hendrix is a big influence.
Oh yeah.
Was there anyone else?
Well, when I started playing drums when I was 9, because I really just was like crazy about the Beatles and the Stones. So if I could be like Ringo and Charlie Watts, that was my main goal in life.
Okay.
But my 2 older sisters, who were about 9 years older than me, they were really in the middle of the greatest part of the 60s, and their boyfriends would come over with records all the time, and they knew that I was a budding young musician. And so they took delight into seeing what would freak me out and what I would like. So I heard always the latest from Cream, Who, Jimi Hendrix, Zeppelin, everything was them. They'd come over to hang out, and they'd say, hey, Joe, you know, come on over here, listen to this. This is Jimi Hendrix. What do you think of that? You know? And so I became a complete Hendrix fanatic, as well as just falling in love with what Jimmy Page and Eric Clapton. And of course, I was already crazy about Beatles and Stones, and just loved the attitude. I used to listen to the Stones all the time. I actually really, you know, it wasn't like, because there was such a big divide between music that wasn't rock, you know, and music that was, that these guitar players, whether they played it cool like Keith Richards, or whether they were just really in the forefront like Hendrix or Jimmy Page or Jeff Beck, you know, pushing the envelope. It was just because it was that generation, they embraced the sound as being part of the message, and that was the important part, because I was a young kid. And every generation needs their own sound. They need their own beat, their own groove, and they need their own sound. You can't stop that. It's just human nature. So I was the perfect age, right? So if I was born in 56, that means that when the Beatles put out Revolver, I was that, what scientists call the perfect age for that musical imprint to happen. And it lasts for about 4 years, and you can't get rid of it. That's just, it becomes part of your DNA, you know. But when Hendrix died in 1970, that, to me, that was just a message, you know, that my life was going to be totally devoted to music, that I wasn't going to just fool around on the drums or the guitar or the piano anymore. I was going to do it for real, because I realized that without his music in my life, that life wouldn't be worth it anymore. And so I had to create it myself. I wasn't trying to replace him. I knew that would never happen. But I thought, where's the music going to come from then? So, and I realized it's got to come from me. So then I realized, well, okay, this is going to be a tough journey, because I know there are people out there who are beginners, and I can say, I feel your pain right down to your fingertips. I know exactly how horrible it feels when you realize that you suck and your fingers hurt and you don't know how to get better. But that's where I was. And I just, you know, I had the support of my parents to just practice and work really hard, you know, so, and I'm still doing it.
And you chose to quit football.
Yeah, well, good thing, because, you know, when you're in middle school, most kids are the same size, you
Yeah.
know. But once you hit high school, things start to change.
Yeah.
A guy who's destined to be a linebacker starts to like be a linebacker. You know, by ninth or
Yeah.
10th grade, big
Yeah.
guys are going to be big, and then the rest of us are like, oh, we're hobbits compared to them. You know, and so although that year I enjoyed it, and the year before, you know, I was an end or a tight end, so I was running a lot and receiving a lot. But just everyone started getting bigger. I realized every time we play another town's team, I'd be looking up half the time.
Oh,
And
wow.
but yeah, I found out on the way out to the field that Hendrix had died. A teammate had told me, and I just turned around and took my gear off and told the coach I'm quitting. That's it. And then announced at the family dinner that I was going to be a guitar player, and that was quite a lively dinner.
Was it?
It was.
So your dad take it the hardest?
They were very upset because Jimi Hendrix must have looked like the craziest person that the 60s had ever delivered to their doorstep. And then the fact that he had just passed away from an overdose of drugs didn't sit too well with them. And so, you know, yeah. But I have to say, you know, one really important thing that was in my corner was the fact that my dad's older brother was a professional musician his whole life, and it was what saved them during the Depression when they were growing up in New York City and there was no work. He was this young, brilliant accordion player, of course, because he's Italian,
Right.
but he could sight read anything, and he had a photographic memory for musical charts. So the kid worked nonstop, and my father was the brain. He became the engineer who worked for, you know, Sperry Gyroscope and a bunch of other big engineering firms. But he always thought, wow, my older brother, you know, he gets to travel the world and play music. But he knew that it took work and it took talent. So he, you know, very early took me aside and said, if you're going to be a musician, you got to practice every day. I'm going to make sure that you practice every day. So it was a good lesson that he instilled in me to work hard.
Right. Do you consider yourself kind of a natural, or did you really have to spend a lot of time practicing?
I still have to spend a lot of time practicing. And I can tell you, I mean, that's a good question because, you know, I know what it's like from the audience perspective. Everything looks easy, right?
Right.
But I have stood next to the greatest guitar players ever, you know?
Right.
And I know what easy is. when I'm on stage and I've got John Petrucci over here and Steve Vai over there and Yngwie right over there and Robert Fripp sitting behind me, those guys have it really easy. I've just seen them play stuff that's just, they're total freaks when it comes to their ability to physically get around the guitar. And I always feel like that the handicapped guy, you know, who you know sprained his finger before he got on stage,
right,
or you know, the guy's dealing with a little bit less, and I'm always amazed at you know, their physical abilities. You know, someone like Paul Gilbert, same kind of thing. Paul can play anything. It's just, and you may not notice it until you stand next to him and you watch it happen and you go, oh my God, that's like easy for him, you know?
Right.
Whereas that would take hours and weeks of preparation for me, and I probably, you know, get muscle tension or something like that, you know, trying to get through it.
Right.
So I've always been the guy who had to work at it, and I enjoy the work, but it helped me focus on what I lacked, I guess. When I was talking to my sister the other day about it, and I was saying, like, you know, like it helped me focus on my shortcomings and be honest to myself about what I was probably able or not able to accomplish as a musician. And I had collected a bunch of really good pieces of knowledge from different teachers along the way, like my drum teacher telling me how to practice, or my music theory teacher in high school telling me one day, he pulls me aside and he said, you know, when you become like 21 years old, he's talking to a 16-year-old, right?
Yeah.
Who's like, who's got the hottest band in high school and thinks he's all that, right? And he says, it may turn out when you're 21 that you're not really as good as, half the other people out there. But, he goes, and there's nothing you can do about your hands. That's what you got, He says, but your brain, the musician in your head, can keep getting better until you're an old man. So to work that. So he started forcing me to do these musical tasks that had me stepping away from a piano or a guitar and simply dealing with manuscript paper and music that I imagined in my mind. And this was a really important gift that he gave me, because I realized that the guitar player up here was so much better than the one with these fingers, which is basically all of us, right? We all imagine in our minds that we can sing like a bird, but actually we're not too good at it. There are only a couple, and I know that from hanging around Sammy Hagar, I realized that no, some people have a gift and you should just leave them alone. But that really helped me. So I focused on writing at a very early age, and I just started writing songs, and I realized that I can create music and have a much more a deeper, more richer experience with the art form of music, and I don't have to rely so much on being like the fastest guy or the guy who can stretch the longest or bend the farthest or something like that. And it really did help me a bit, because it focused on my attributes rather than beating my head against the wall, basically trying to be as fast as Steve or Yngwie or John Petrucci or somebody like that. I've toured with Yngwie, and he's one of those players where you stand right next to him and you look at it and you think, well, if I'm standing right next to Yngwie and I'm looking at him, then I'll know how he does it. But you can't, because he's Yngwie. That's it.
Yeah.
And you have to, you kind of like have to accept that. And so, whether you're, you're standing next to a Steve Vai, John Petrucci, whatever, Phil Collins, their heart and soul and their personality go into the guitar. They're going to have facility. Someone's going to be able to do one thing better than the other, but the main thing is that uniqueness of their personality is what the audience really hears, and that's the important fact, I think. And once, if you're a young player, that's your strength. That is your superpower. Anybody out there listening to this, if they're a beginner and they want to get into music, your superpower is your personality, your unique individual spirit. And don't worry about the fact that you're taller or shorter or bigger or smaller, or you're not as fast, or you play faster than everybody. Whatever it is, don't worry about any of that stuff. Your audience out there is as confused about life as anybody else, and they just want to hear someone else's perspective on it to help them understand and to get through life. So that's what you need to work on, is open your heart, show people who you are through your music, and you'll find your audience.
Right.
Don't worry about the technique so much. It's important to work on it, to utilize it as much as possible to get your story across. But it's not the thing that your audience ultimately is going to recognize you for. They're going to recognize you for the music part.
Right. Well, guys, we just ran smooth out of time with Joe. I do hope you enjoyed my chat with Satch, but don't fret, he is coming back next week for a second go right here on Barside Jive, so we can finish up. Don't forget to go to my YouTube channel, Barside Jive Live on YouTube, and subscribe and click that little bell.
Oh, damn it.
There we go. There we go. We just get better all the time, don't we? Yeah. Click that little bell so you'll receive notifications immediately when I post new content. And I guess I'll about wrap this episode, right, AJ?
Fuck, I hope so.
Here, let's have one more. Still, whoops, you're out. So until next week, next Monday, right here at noon Central Time.
Ish.
Yeah, ish. You throw that ish out there. Yeah. In the meantime, peace, love, and rock and roll, guys. See you soon.
Barside Jive shall not be responsible for any incorrect or inaccurate information caused by this broadcast. Barside Jive does assume, however, all responsibility for the satirical nature of its content and for the occasional fictional nature of its content. All characters appearing in this broadcast, even those based on real people, except for our featured guests, of course, are entirely fictional, and any resemblance between them and any persons living dead or undead is purely a miracle.
Tony! Fuck you, Tony! What's your name? Ezekiel! Fuck you, Ezekiel! Fuck you! Fuck you!